Hello and welcome back to ClosedByClosers. It is already day 3. The first 2 days we spent figuring out where to exactly find the leads, and today we're going to be going over exactly what to do with the leads and obviously how to turn these leads into buying prospects. So the purpose of day 3 is to teach you how to handle responses without losing control of the conversation. Yesterday was about where the conversations come from. Today is going to be about what to do once they start. Now, understand this and understand it early because this is why most conversations fail. A lot of people think that it's because the offer is bad, that the timing is wrong, or that the person is not interested. Now, this is not the case at all. Understanding the real causes is the first step towards mastering conversation control. The real reasons that conversations fail is because you're giving them too much information early on. You're either giving them too much control of the conversation, or the conversations become reactive instead of structured. Your goal today is to learn how to slow the conversations down while keeping them moving forward. Now, this paradox is at the heart of professional sales conversations management. The core principles of day 3 today are simply to understand that you are here to qualify. You're here to understand that convincing creates pressure. Understand the guide that professionals take. You're not here to convince. Clarity creates trust and opens pathways to genuine understanding. Obviously, if you're crystal clear about what you have to offer and they understand that, they're going to be a lot more inclined to trust you and a lot more inclined to move forward with the purchase. Now, when you try to convince somebody in sales, you're immediately creating some sort of resistance and tension in the conversation. They know that you're trying to sell something to them. So as I've mentioned a million times already, check your notes, make a friend first. The selling will come later. Now, understand the pathways that professionals take. They don't chase replies or force outcomes. They structure conversations with intention. Now, this fundamental shift in perspective from convincing to clarifying is going to completely change your approach and how you interact with every single person. When you enter a conversation seeking to clarify rather than convince, you remove the pressure from both parties. You don't feel like you have to sell anymore, and it doesn't feel like they're being sold to. The other person feels respected rather than sold to, and you maintain the emotional energy needed to sustain multiple conversations throughout the entire day. Now, this isn't just wordplay. This is a practical distinction that professionals internalize and amateurs overlook. Understand everything that we're telling you here today. What does conversation control actually mean? Again, as we normally do, let's explain what it's not. Conversation control does not mean that you're dominating, manipulating, or forcing anything in the conversation. It simply means that you're setting the pace, you're asking the right questions, and you're deciding what happens next. You also got to know when to stop. You can't overpush. The more you overpush, the more likely you are to lose the sale. Now, understanding this distinction between control is critical. When you control a conversation properly, the other person feels guided, not pressured. They experience structure, not manipulation. Now, this is why experienced professionals can have shorter conversations that feel more substantial than lengthy exchanges managed by beginners. Now, the next big step is understanding response types. There's 5 main response types that you should probably write down. The first is going to be curious responses. The next is skeptical responses, neutral responses, unqualified responses, and lastly, high intent responses. We'll go over all of these on the next slide. So before we go to the next slide, you need to understand why categorization comes first. If you respond the same way to every single reply, you're going to waste your time. You're going to burn energy and you're going to create confusion. Professionals decide what a response means before deciding how to reply. If they know where to categorize each individual response, they will get a much higher close rate. So these are the 5 response categories in detail. I recommend you pause the video and take a look at all of these, read through them, and understand what each one means. Simply put, a curious response is people that are wanting to know a little bit more information. Obviously, they're wanting to know a little bit more information and they're going to be asking questions. Skeptical responses are going to be people that don't really know what they're getting into and understand. They're not attacking you by not understanding. They just definitely don't know what's going on. Neutral response is just a simple thanks, interesting, something that doesn't really mean too much. Again, you need to know how to respond to each individual response. An unqualified response is somebody that's simply not qualified. Don't waste your time with these. You'll waste their time, you'll waste your time, and your time is valuable. Lastly, there's the high intent responses. These are the people that are looking to make change right away. These are going to be your hottest responses. These are the people that you want to dedicate all of your time to because you will get high responses and high closes if you capitalize on these people. Understand all 5 of these in detail and understand moving forward where you should be placing every single person that responds to your message. Now, moving on, this is what not to do and how to respond correctly. Now, obviously, you're going to see a common theme if you've been taking notes. You're not pitching, you're not explaining the entire process, you're not selling, you're not talking about money, and you're not trying to close anything. You are simply trying to ask more than they tell, have responses that are shorter than theirs, stay one step at a time, and maintain curiosity. If your response removes all mystery, you've gone too far. Understand that professionals leave space for other people to lean in. Today is completely about conversation mechanics, not conversion. Every instinct to pitch, explain, or close should be consciously resisted. Understand how important the power of clarifying questions is. If you know exactly what you want, you will know exactly how to supply a solution, and you will be able to get them that solution, whether that be selling them information, a product, whatever solution they are looking for, you will be the person to get them there. Now, when to loop in an appointment specialist. We went over this a little bit yesterday, but we're going to make a hard point on it today. Right after you get all of the buying signals, right after you get some type of, okay, I want to do this, that's when you're going to add the appointment specialist. Understand your role versus their role. Your role is simply to observe, listen, and take mental notes. Their role is going to be to guide, qualify, and pace the conversation. Understand notes on what they're doing so you can implement this into your sales expertise in the future. Now, understand, this is one of the most valuable parts about your training. When you bring in a specialist, you get to see exactly how they manage the conversation and exactly how they implement exactly what you've been learning. Pay close attention to their pacing, their questions, and most importantly, what they choose not to say. The silence and the pauses are just as instructive as the words. Listen to everything and take amazing notes. One more thing that you should keep an eye out for is why disengagement is a skill. You should be paying attention to how exactly conversations unfold. Pay attention to how conversations are structured. Pay attention to how responses are paced. Pay attention to how pressure is avoided. Pay attention to how disengagement happens cleanly. Understanding why disengagement is a skill. It protects your time, it protects your mind, it protects your energy, and it also prevents burnout and frustration. Something that you need to know is not every conversation deserves continuation. That is not rejection, that is simply filtering. Don't waste your time. Another note is when you're managing multiple conversations, do not rush, do not multitask emotionally, and do not force outcomes. Structure beats speed. That's why systems exist. One well-managed conversation is worth 10 rushed exchanges. Look at these 5 examples and understand this is what you need to avoid if you want to have high-converting conversations. One last final reminder for day 3. You're not being judged today on your numbers of replies, your conversions, or how many conversations you've initiated. You're simply being trained on the clarity of the conversation before taking action. Now, this is the skill that separates professionals from amateurs, and that's exactly what you're developing today. Now, this is the reflection section of today. It's very important that you write all of these down because you will learn from your previous conversations, and moving forward, you'll learn how to turn those into high-converting sales. Now, understand what today's day is really teaching you about. You need to learn how professionals protect their energy, how clarity replaces persuasion, and how pacing builds trust. And that's why specialization exists. Now, these are foundational business skills that extend far beyond sales conversations. You can use these in any aspect of business. That pretty much wraps up everything for day 3. Make sure for tomorrow's module, you have all of these notes written down. It will help you out tomorrow, I promise. Thank you for tuning into your 3rd module today. We'll be sure to get you some more valuable information tomorrow. Make sure to tune in and make sure to come with some strong notes. See you then.